and word spread where neighbors might want to come bring their children or relatives, and so the groups got a little bit bigger, and time went by, and as more settlers came into the area, the idea of homeschooling was kind of passing, and they decided that perhaps they could just build some temporary shelters, and the children could come there for school. I'm sure it was sporadic, and it wasn't the most convenient and safest place to be educated. But that went on for about, and the people of the area, if there was more than one person who wanted to be the teacher, they submitted their name, and a vote was taken to decide who would be the teacher. So it wasn't necessarily their talent or their ability, it was maybe kind of a popularity thing, that person would be the teacher. I hope not, but that could have been. In 1785, there was a land ordinance passed that declared that there would be sections set aside for educational purposes. And then in 1816, when Indiana became a state, the Constitution stated that there would be a non-tuition education available for everybody. And nothing's free, so those people had to deal with taxes, just like we have to deal with taxes today. Circa 1852, the township system was born. At first, there were single-room schoolhouses, and gradually that was followed by multi-room schoolhouses. At first, these buildings were made of logs, and then in the 1850s and 60s, they began to have frame structures, and finally, brick became the building material in the 1870s and 80s. 3 trustees were selected to be in charge of each township. The county superintendent, who had been chosen by that time, was also there to help plan, direct, and supervise the township schools. The townships were divided into numbered districts, and the schools were constructed, it said, roughly every 2 miles. Do you have any idea why every 2 miles?
Walking,
Right. It was so that no child would have to walk more than 1 mile one way to school. So if it was every 2 miles and they lived halfway, it was just 1 mile to one school or the other, which was some good thinking on their part. Of course, they had to attend school in all kinds of weather. School was mainly during the colder season. The school year was based around the farming of the early people. So there were schools in Dekalb County that received their names from different ways. First of all, it could have been a family that had worked the land that was chosen for the location of the school. Or it could be a family who had donated a lot of the material or the labor to construct the buildings. Or it could be some kind of a land formation that was in the area. I have examples for those. Also, each school had a district number assigned to them within their township. Like there could be Jackson Township District 1, but they also had these other names that they often went by instead of district numbers. And I have some examples here. Rakestraw School or Dekalb School were located in Kaiser Township. I assume those were last names of people. Bog Island School was in Union Township. Cedar Lake School was in Smithville Township. Cedar Lake, for instance, then would have been labeled District Number 10 in Smithville Township. There was actually a school in Richland Township, and I'm not making this up, it's in the book, that was called the African School. Word has it that the kids were so ornery that they acted like African natives. And it's in the book listed as African School. We wanted to teach her. Now I have some side things to bring in here while I'm doing this.
Where would that African school located?
Richland Township.
Where's Richland?
Pardon?
Where's Richland Township?
Richland Township is around the Corona. I taught at East Richland, so I know where the Richland Township basically is. Corona, when I was teaching, the early grades were in Corona, and there was a West Richland and East Richland.
So it's not there.
So it's north of Auburn.
Switch some schools on the way there. She'll talk.
Okay, some personal
First
things
of all,
here.
she worked
When I was
2
doing
years.
this, I came across a cobbler school. And I knew that there had been a cobbler school. It was located in Jackson Township. And sometime back, my daughter and I took a car ride to where it was supposed to have been. We saw nothing that might indicate that there was a school there. And the reason that interested me was because my maiden name was Cobbler. So I'm going to pursue that more, and if anybody has any information, I would be glad to be informed. It was northern Jackson Township. I can't tell you the road number right now, but I know we one time knew where it was, and we went there and we saw no clue. On the other hand, we travel County Road 43 quite a bit, and we can see a pump that's out in the yard where another school was located. But there was no clue there.
My granddad drove through Westwood when he went to this west now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I only taught in East Richland the last year it was open, and I never had any reason to go to West Richland. But I got kids, of course, that came from there to East Richland. And you said it's just that they locked in?
Yeah, it's west of 347, and this is, I used to go in and go through the brick road and look at it, but it kind of got blocked off now, but of course, I'm 83, but, and I wasn't old enough to go to school yet, but my granddad, I remember riding the bus with him and dropping the kids off to West Richmond. Yeah.
Okay. I know Harry Hobart, I believe, is a janitor there.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know.
Okay, I don't know Harry from the schools.
Yeah.
Okay, and then also, my dad went to Bear Creek School in Jackson Township, which is located on County Road 60, for his first 8 grades. And I remember him talking about he walked across the fields, climbed the fences in all kinds of weather, and he said that sometimes if there was a creek, you had to figure out how to get across the creek unless it was frozen or whatever. And it was not uncommon for wildlife to being a part of your trip to school or your way back. And he told me that he carried his lunch in a metal container. When I was teaching fifth grade, I would mention some of this in the social studies aspect of it. And I would ask my fifth graders, why do you think they carry metal lunch containers? Well, the kids had all kinds of answers. And some of them made a little sense. But I pointed out to them that had they not been metal, the mice may have gotten there and had a bite or two out of their meal before they got to the meal, you know. And then the kids said too that if they carried sack lunches, which I'm not sure that would have even been available, sack lunches. Anyway, they said if they carried sack lunches, they'd get wet in the snow and the rain and fall apart. But it got them thinking. Now I came up with some advantages to the township schools. The younger kids could eavesdrop on the next level or two and pick up some information, which would not happen in your classroom today where you have grade by grade. And the older students could sometimes help out with the younger students if they had reached a stage where they were bored or they had been exposed to about everything that there was available, they could help out with the younger students. And the groups were smaller. The kids all knew each other because they lived in the neighborhood. Now, the disadvantages kind of outweigh the advantages. Of course, the transportation. I think at first it was walking, and then if they had enough students, I believe there was bus transportation provided. But there was the weather, the distance, the landforms, as I mentioned. The heating, I'm sure, was not that good. The older boys sometimes would help with getting the wood in and keeping the fire going. Of course, the sanitation left a lot to be desired with the no drinking fountains and no bathrooms. Education stopped at the 8th grade. So some of the students, that was it. That was their education, 8th grade. Those who chose to go on, many found that there was a learning gap that they had to make up for as compared to the kids who'd gone to the city schools. But within a year or so, they were able to take care of that situation and catch up. The school year was a lot shorter when they were going to township schools because, like I said, it had to do with the farming schedule program. The qualification for teachers, it wasn't too much for a while, and then gradually they began to have institutes where the teachers could attend and get ideas. They began to hand out some information. The county superintendent would hand out information, and they could share with each other some things that were working. The townships received compensation from the county funds, but sometimes they had to impose a township tax. I think they call it a poll tax to help out with some of the expenses that were covered from what they were allotted from the county. Teachers could be male or female, and usually the male teacher had a higher wage than the female teacher. Sometimes the teachers resided with area families, or they might have had to find their own boarding. Their teaching usually included the janitorial duties too, unless they could talk a 8th grade or older kid into helping them clean up a bit. Wood was used for heating, and it was usually purchased on a bid basis. Farmers or people
wood farmers or different ones actually donate the wood or make the wood for the school and get it taken off of their taxes?
I don't know.
I think that's how it was set up.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, so some people didn't have a lot of money or any kind of cash money back then.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I would say yes, I would say no. It sounds feasible to me. At one time, there were roughly 130 district schools, township schools in DeKalb County. It ranged from, there were 2 in Spencer Township and 14 in Wilmington Township. The educational standards began changing, becoming greater, and those township schools began deteriorating and becoming obsolete. Closing there at first was strictly voluntary, but gradually the reorganization became mandatory. And the last few schools in DeKalb County, in the township, were closed in the mid-1960s, and I can't tell you which ones were the final ones. Okay, going now beyond 8th grade. As I said, many of them, that was the end of their education, 8th grade. Those who chose to go on, they had 3 choices of higher learning located in the county. It was the Auburn Academy, the Newville Academy, or the Waterloo Seminary. Contracts were drawn up between the county and the city for those 8th grade grads that were going to go on. The students provided their own transportation in the beginning, as I said, and busing may have become available later. In my dad's case, he chose to go on, and he lived with my aunt and uncle, who lived on Ansley Avenue in Auburn, and attended Auburn High School for his 4 years and graduated from there in 1931. I'm thinking he was glad to be able to do that, because living on the farm and being an only child, he got out of a lot of the farm chores that he had done had he not chosen to go on to school. And then, prior to this Auburn Academy that I'm going to leave, school was held in the first county courthouse, and also there was a place on North Main Street where the old Y used to be that was called Dekalb House. It was a tavern, but they also had school on it, which I thought was kind of funny. then the other building, which today is the Harrison Building, became the elementary, and so there were the two buildings there. I was a student at the building that they tore down that was built as the high school. That was my junior high, and I went to the Harrison Building, not the one because they rebuilt the Harrison, but I went to the Harrison Building and the old high school, which is the junior high, and then Auburn High School. I probably spent the majority of my life there as a student and then later as a teacher. This high school, Central High School, it became inadequate. It wasn't big enough to take care of everything. Now, I mentioned William McIntosh earlier. Now, here's where the love story comes in. William McIntosh was from Wisconsin, and he was also educated. And he was serving in the Civil War, and they had him in Tennessee. Well, it just happened that there was a lady named Anna Cosper from Auburn, Indiana, and a few of her friends wanted to help out with the war cause. So they volunteered. They ended up in Tennessee. Anna met William. Anna was educated also. And they met, fell in love, got married. And then Mr. McIntosh was sent someplace else. So Mrs. Cosper, Mrs. McIntosh, who was Miss Cosper, after he got out of the Civil War, they went back to Wisconsin for a year or so, and then moved to Auburn, where she was from. And they lived on South Main Street, where the old Auburn High School was. And this is where they reared their children, and I mentioned he was a superintendent. They reared their children there, and then in 1915, Anna passed away. And in the following year, Mr. McIntosh offered his property to be used for educational purposes. And the offer was accepted. The building, their home, was torn down. And Mr. McIntosh laid the first brick of the new high school. World War I then was taking place, which slowed down the structure, the progress of the structure. And so it wasn't until 1921 that it was dedicated. And Mr. McIntosh laid the last brick of the building as well. It's guessed that the cost of the building then was about $165,000. That building had a ground floor. There were 2 additional floors then. There was a stage. This is my old high school. There was a stage and a gym. And then you went upstairs and there was an assembly room and classrooms. And then there were more classrooms on the 3rd floor. On the 2nd floor, yeah. The superintendent's office was there. Mr. McKinney was the superintendent of schools when I was a student there, and his office was right there. We could see him about every day. And then the class of 1966 was the last to graduate from Auburn High School. I don't know where it got changed from McIntosh High School to Auburn High School, but somewhere in there the name changed. The alumni gym was built then in 1924, 3 years after the high school was dedicated. And it would seat 2,300 people. I want to tell you something about that. slowly internally. So they decided then to honor him by naming it Earl Carr Memorial Field. Now, I read in another book, different story, but that other story is not true. And I have a paper I checked to see how to do to make that correction available. So I'm working on that too. But that's the story of Earl Carr Memorial Field. And it said that his funeral was held in the Auburn Alumni Gym. He is also a basketball player. He plays center. And his casket was in the center of the basketball floor. 1,200 people attending his funeral there. That's just a side story. It is. At this time then, Auburn had 3 elementary schools. They had the Harrison, what we taught. They had the Riley School. If any of you remember Lenny's Grocery on North Van Buren, it was across from the grocery. And there was the DeSoto School, which was east off of 7th Street on Baxter Street. And the Riley School was named after James Whitcomb Riley, built in 1902. The DeSoto School was named after another school that was called DeSoto. And I'm not sure where it was. And that was built in 1908. Then 30 acres, we're passing some time now, 30 acres was purchased in the eastern part of Auburn as a location for a new elementary school. The growth was occurring a lot in the eastern section of the city, so that's where they chose to find some land. Now, I also heard, and I didn't talk anything about it, but at one time they had thought about purchasing the Warren Middoff Farm, which is located south of Auburn, was then bought by Dean Bruce. But I'm not sure why they didn't purchase or if they were just thinking. Okay. In 1962, after the East Auburn School was built, the DeSoto and the Riley students started going there. It later became the J.R. Watson School, named after Dr. Watson, who was the superintendent of the Auburn Dekalb Central Schools for a long period of time. When it was first built, the offices were located there as well until 1982. And then you may remember they moved the offices to West 7th Street. So today, Beacon is located on West 7th across from Chris Raw's building. They were there for a while. I remember one time hearing a sign, a picnic, I guess, and that's where it was located. Walking down Harris. And then, of course, they built their own building out north of the middle school and high school, where they're located today. Okay, now, they tore down the McKinney And Mr. Ziegler's office was kind of glass, so you could see in. And they had a poetry in there. And this teacher came to school, took off her coat, forgot to put her dress on. So I put her coat back on, go back and get dressed. I don't know why I did that. My mom told me that same story, so I know who it is. Okay, I'm not lying. Not lying. I know who it is too. I'm not. Yeah. We call her Dusty. Is that who it is? Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that school also had the outside metal fire escape. That if you had fire drills, if you were in the assembly room or on the first floor, you went down the fire escape. You remember that too?
I didn't go to all of it, so I learned somebody at the time who did, not at that time. And then the Dusty thing,
Oh, yeah.
I heard stories about her.
This one too? Now she's, God bless her, she's passed away. But, I think her dad was on the school board at one time, but we're, you know. Yeah. Okay. In 1967, the McKinney Junior High School, the old junior high school that I went to, which at one time had been the high school. Once they built the new high school, then that became our junior high school. And then, when the new Dekalb high school was built, the old Auburn High School became the junior high school, and the old McKinney school that I went to as junior high school became elementary. And that's the year I taught the last year at East Richland School, 5th grade, and I knew it was going to be my last year there because they told me that. This is it, we're closing the school after this year. I didn't care, I just wanted a job. And I'm so glad I took that job because it was a unique year. It was great. I had farm kids basically. They were all bussed in, nobody stayed after school like they did in town. They were well behaved. There was nobody there but 2 teachers and the kids. The janitor would come, Mr. Seaver would come and keep the fire going and clean after school, but we didn't have a music teacher that would rotate and come in. We had no art teacher. The kids didn't need PE, they were fun kids, but we played a lot of baseball when the weather was nice. 6th grade was across the hall. No secretary. The telephone was in my room, so I was the secretary whenever somebody would call. I came to find out that Mr. Laura Parker, who was teaching 6th grade across the hall while I was teaching 5th grade, he had been out there at Bear Creek teaching when my dad was out there as a student. I had a chance to get to call my dad, but I don't think I questioned that. My dad was a pretty well-behaved person. Okay. I moved in from East Richland School to now the new McKinney Elementary School, which had been the old junior high, which went to the old high school. And then we became known as McKinney Harrison. Some grades were in the Harrison building, some grades were in the McKinney building. No matter which building you were in, no matter what the weather was like, you almost had to go outdoors. Not just to come and go to school, but the cafeteria had been put in the Harrison building, so the McKinney kids, if they wanted to have lunch, had to go over there outside to get their food. The music, art, and gym classes were in the McKinney building, so the Harrison kids had to come across for their special classes. So rain, snow, whatever, we're outside. So for a few years, we jokingly kept talking about, why don't we connect the 2 But it was. And in got it down here. In 1981, they put the connection between the two buildings. So, since that worked, we started talking about putting a dome over the playground. Well, if you drive by, you won't see a dome over the playground. Okay, now, I'm leaving out a lot, and I couldn't find some of it. Consolidation. The Indiana School Reorganization Act of 1959 took place, and it reduced the number of school districts from 966 to just 402. That still sounds like a lot. In 1959, Harold Stump was the judge, and he called a county convention meeting at the assembly room in the courthouse. And he appointed an 8-member committee to start talking about consolidation following the laws that had been passed. There were many, many public meetings held, and I'm sure a lot of arguments taking place about who was going to give in and what was going to happen. It was difficult because of several things. The city schools like Ashley, St. Joe, Butler, and so forth, they were activity centers as well as school buildings. And they were meeting places. Sometimes the school was used for other purposes. It was a sense of community, and the athletic teams wanted to outdo each other. So they finally came up with 5 districts. And I don't have the date on that either exactly. The 5 districts were Dekalb Central South. That included Auburn, Jackson Township, and Union, which is part of Auburn. Dekalb Northwest. That was Waterloo, Corona, Ashley, Grant Township, Smithfield Township, Richland Township, and Fairfield. The third one was Garrett, Kaiser, and Butler. 4th, DeKalb Eastern, and 5th, Hamilton Community. In 1964, the DeKalb South Central Schools and the DeKalb Northwest merged and became the DeKalb Central. That was in 64. And then after the high school was built, then DeKalb High School, as I said, the old high school was used for the junior high, and the McKinney became the elementary. The 6th graders were kind of moved around at times. Sometimes the 6th graders were part of the elementary schools. At other times, 6th grade was part of the junior high. Same thing happened to the 9th graders. Sometimes the 9th was a part of the high school. Sometimes it was a part of the middle school. There was a fluctuation there through the years. Now, I left out a lot. If you're not a DeKalb or an Auburn person, you feel slighted. I have just a little bit about the other 2 higher learnings in addition to the Auburn Academy. And there's information you can look into it if you're really interested in it. In Newville, in 1855, it was called the Vienna Academy. It was built on the St. Joe Riverbank. I'm not sure where. Its name was changed in 1856 to the Newville Academy, and later they named it the, I'll spell it for you, F-A-U-R-O-T-T, Farott Academy. It later became a part of In 1862, the Waterloo Seminary. It was also called the Moores Seminary because there was a guy named John A. Moore who had taught in Auburn, who had gone to Waterloo with some ideas he brought with him and so forth. And so, for some reason, they also called it Moores Seminary. It was a two-story structure, and the upstairs was often used for meetings of the Methodist Protestant Church. It was later used as a candy factory, and I don't know Waterloo that well to know where it was or anything about it. The first actual school in Waterloo was from 1871 to 1938. It was the schools. Waterloo had schools for 124 years before the Dekalb Central System was established. The Ashley School, their first school was in 1892, and it was a two-story, six-room red brick building. And I think they added on to that for a while, and then I'm not sure what happened after that. Now, in addition to what we consider school system, there was also in early DeKalb County, there was the indentured type of school, kind of like the indentured servant. If a family had lots and lots of kids, and you just couldn't afford to take care of all of them, or if they had a child who wanted to learn a specific trade, not necessarily a man, it could be a gal who wanted to learn sewing or baking or something. They had a deal where you could allow your child to live with the teacher, and that could be from a couple of years until they reached adulthood. And you were the teacher, you were expected to teach them this trade, but you're also expected to make sure they got an education and that they were raised under high moral standards. Sometimes, once they learned the trade and were off on more or less on their own, they might partner with their teacher and just continue on, or they could move on and use their skill on their own or any way they wanted to. And DeKalb has been the home for some parochial schools. There was at one time the Immaculate Conception Catholic Church in Auburn on East 7th Street, where the church is now. St. Joe Catholic School is still being used in Garrett. The Faith Christian Academy started out at the Baptist Church in Auburn, and then when they purchased Lakewood Park, it's now Lakewood Park. There's also been some special classes in the area. The preschool for the handicapped, I think that was more of a private thing. Wee Haven was in first grade teacher had written in there that Catherine should start learning to tell the truth and not cry all the time. I was the little farm girl who went to that big school on that big bus, and I didn't know anybody while I was there for a few days. So, yeah, and then I know why to tell the truth was. I did get spanked in first grade. Not with a paddle. I think I probably scribbled on my neighbor's paper and she had it. And I think probably Miss Godric saw me do it because I said I didn't, but she kept me in a breeze fest. The kids were outdoors. She sat down on her chair and she put me over her lap. And, yeah, that was first grade. That was the only time too. Okay, some comparisons. When I went to school, all 12 years, no delays for fog or anything. No cancellation for weather. We went. And my parents valued education. And when our dirt road was so deep in mud, my dad got on the farm tractor, and my brother and I got on that tractor. And you can imagine what we looked like by the time we got down to the highway to get on the bus. And I don't remember being made fun of at school. We were muddy. And then, fog, we were disciplined. When we were on the bus and it was foggy, the bus driver came up to the railroad tracks, turned off the motor, and we knew silence. Got out, listened, got back on the bus, started up, and we went across, and we never got hit or anything. Okay. Dresses and skirts, as some of you probably remember. Boys, cords, dress pants, they wear jeans. We had a lunchroom. When we went to Auburn, most of the kids were city kids, and there was no cafeteria. So the city kids went home for lunch. At that time, most moms were home. They didn't have jobs away from school. So we packed our lunch, and we had a room where we were supposed to eat our lunch. And there was that little store that Bob White had in the next block there on Indian Avenue. That was a good place to go get some pop for your lunch, or after lunch you could go, well, you took your hot dog back and you got your money back for your Bob. And you could get a candy bar or something for your dessert. I'm sure he made a lot of money off of school kids in that store instead of the neighbor families. I know we had more than a lunch hour, because those kids had to walk lots of distances to get home and eat and get back. And as a packer, we always felt lucky if some town kid invited us to come home with them to eat lunch that day. One time I had a friend that she said, we could go to my aunt's house and have lunch. So I agreed with her. We walked, and we walked. We started out in Harrison. We walked. We were headed towards Ewo Street in the east end of Auburn. By the time we got to the aunt's house, we got in her car. We ate sandwiches on the way back to school because neither one of us wanted to be late back to school because we knew we were in trouble if we were. But most of you walked to somebody's house and ate lunch and you were happy. After we ate our lunch, just little kids. We didn't have to ask anybody anything. We could go where we wanted to go. We'd walk uptown a lot. First graders, second graders. Wander around. Go to the library. We like to stop and look at Davis Studio pictures. You always have different pictures in there. We look at those pictures. Go to the dime store. Later, junior high, high school, you went to Rollmasters and got a record club for a dime. Or in high school, before the cafeteria became available, in high school there was never a cafeteria equipment in the high school. We could walk over to the Harrison building and get a hot lunch we wanted. But usually we just packed our lunch, then we go uptown. But we could go up to Reuter's restaurant and get a Reuter burger up there. That was a pretty famous or popular place to go for that. But you can didn't have permission from anybody, you just did whatever you wanted to do, just be back in time. We had milk delivered by the dairy to school. They were bringing it in each classroom. The day before, the teacher would take count who wanted milk, white chocolate. And growing up on the farm, my parents said, we got milk right here, we're not paying for milk at school. So I always got lucky if a kid was absent and they had milk coming that next day, I got milk and didn't have to pay for it. Today I can't stand milk. Growing up on the farm. Once a week we had an early dismissal for church school. And I guess if you didn't go to church school, you stayed at school and played or whatever. I just went to church school. I went to, it's where the Genealogy building is today. It's the Church of Christ. And my aunt was one of the teachers there. And you walk over there, you have your little church session. And then we always walked on over to the high school because it was closer than walking back to Harrison to get on the bus when they picked up the high school kids. That was then. This is now. We used to go to the public library a lot because I don't remember having a library even at the Harrison school. I know Jackson Township kids were able to use the library. Get new books every week. Out on the playground, I remember doing this. The janitor, there was an entrance off the playground down the steps where the janitor kind of hung out. And if you had an orange or something in your lunch, sometimes we'd go down there and the janitor would get out his pocket knife and he'd peel the oranges and stuff for us. We didn't have to ask anybody to go down the janitor's. We just went down there. Once in a while, I got to take the attendance down to Mr. Ziegler's office. He was also the principal of the Harrison building. And it was real professional. It was graph paper. And our names were written on the graph paper. And the teacher would put one line this way if the student was absent in the morning. And another line this way if the student was absent in the afternoon. So we had the next afternoon for gone all day. And half day and it was just plain old math graph paper. When I got into junior high, there was an area north of the old junior high that was roped off for snowball. And if you got in that area and you got hit, you got hurt or something, it was your fault. Because when you went in, it take it or, something. When I was in school, we pledged allegiance to the 48th Star Flag. It wasn't 50 until the year I graduated, 59, Alaska and Hawaii became states. And during my years of teaching, I made contact with the man over in Ohio who designed the 50-star flag. And was able to get him to come on Veterans Day as a speaker. He only came with the understanding that he could make his speech more than once, just two or three different elementary schools. And it was interesting. It was his high school assignment in social studies that they were to design a flag for the Alaska. And he knew Hawaii was going to be added too, so he just made it 50. And when he turned it in, he got a C on it. And he complained to the teacher about the low grade. And I think I got this right. The teacher said, well, if they choose yours, I'll change it to an A. They chose his. And he told us that when he came to speak, he had then moved to Michigan. He was in failing health. He said that he had sold his original class project, and I don't know who he sold it to, but he had taken the money and put it away in a fund for his grandchildren's education. So that was kind of neat to be able 3 offense, 3 defense. You don't cross the center line. I guess they thought we weren't up to it. The gym teacher either told you you're offense or you're defense. If you're offense, you got to shoot. If you're defense, you just guard it all the time. I'm not sure when that changed, but I remember playing 6 people on the team basketball. And our school day was a lot longer then, because I remember we were one of the first to get on the bus, and we were one of the last to get off the bus, and in the year like, part of the year like now, it was almost dark by the time we got home from school. That's kind of my childhood memories from school. And then as a teacher, I don't want to bore you with a lot of that, but I did find out that Mr. Carter that I taught with was my dad's teacher. When I taught that last year at East Richmond School, we had a few mice once in a while, and the big windows, they weren't our replacement because they just got to close up the school. The big windows rattled a lot, so the kids learned that you have to speak up, just like when the trains go by. You have to speak up so we can understand what you're saying. I did teach long enough. I retired in 2007. I taught 1 year in Butler. I finished out 3rd grade for Elaine Underhill. And I did get enough days in it counting as a year of teaching. And then I got the 5th grade job at East Richmond 1 year. I knew that was going to close. Then they transferred us into McKinney Harrison. And I was at McKinney then until 2007 when I retired. All my teaching was, I think I was probably in about every room in the McKinney building. I remember one day, the principal thought it'd be a good idea to have swamp day. He put numbers in a box. And if you're the 5th grade teacher, you're the highest grade in that building, so I knew I was going to get a lower grade. I pulled out 1st grade. It's pretty hard to go from 5th grade to 1st grade. So the teachers are supposed to get all the lesson plans in detail. So I got the kids, every time I look at lesson plans, it said restroom, restroom, restroom. So first time I got the kids, I said, let's get ready for the bathroom. So I get them lined up, and I said, okay, let's go. I start down the hallway, and a little bit later, nobody's coming, so I go back and come on. Teacher? Yes. You gotta hold her hands. It wasn't for me. I said, let's not do this again. I had one teaching friend in 5th grade that drew special ed, and it was a bad day for her. She said, I will not put in special ed classes in 5th grade. Do not expect me. It was bad. Taught 1 year at J.R. Watson when they remodeled the McKinney building. That was interesting year. Desert Storm was starting. And my kids, well, I dreaded that year, thinking they're going to mix half my classes that be McKinney Harrison kids bused over there, and half that would be J.R. Watson. And I don't know how this is going to go. It turned out to be one of my most memorable years. Not very long into the school year, one of the students asked, why are there yellow ribbons tied on the trees at the courthouse? And I knew, but I said, I have a friend who has someone in the military. I'll see if I can get her to come out and talk. Well, she and her husband both came out and explained that they were parents of military people, and that was just recognized the fact that we were at war and that it was involving Dekalb County. And so after that couple left, somebody in my class said, can we raise money and buy ribbon for him? And I said, I guess I have to get that okay through the principal, who was Mrs. Brooke. So our goal was $50 to buy ribbon. So we brainstormed and we decided that maybe we'd sell milk and cookies before school. And so we got the cheapest cookies, and we set up a table. But the weekend before that, I had kind of messed made about 50 of those, and we laid those out too. And we ran out of bags before we ran out of milk and cookies. So we brainstormed again and decided, forget the milk and cookies, let's do badges. And that went on, and we had more parents come out to talk to the kids. The kids began writing to Dekalb County military people, a gal and guys. And the kids set up stands in some of the stores. We started, the poor secretaries at J.R. Watson started getting phone orders in from factories and stuff to the point where we could hardly keep up. We went from the hand badge makers to the semi-automatic. And by the time it all ended, the military guys, some of them were going to come home, they were able to come out and see the kids could see them. It was just wonderful that they could come together. And I had Cindy Lee as my aide that year because I had a student that required an aide. And she and I had never told anybody how the money was going. We were so busy, we just threw the money in the safe. And so we sat down one day after school and we got it all figured out, and we were shocked. So we made a big check, and we covered up the amount and everything. And Mrs. Brooks said, we need to have a school assembly, and we need to recognize your class. So we had the big fake check and everything. Mr. Perry, I believe it was, came from the central office and pulled off the cover, and it was more than $3,000. After we paid off our bills for the supplies for the badges and the cookies and everything. Well, the needing more ribbons, so the money was given to the American Legion as an emergency fund that if somebody from the area needed to go to a family member or somebody, that this was available to use from. And those kids just, it was just amazing how two different schools could come together. And I think I can remember every person in that class, every student that I had. And I can't from a lot of classes that I had. But they were recognized by the school board. And then one of the boys, something happened here a few years later. I think he was in the middle school. And one of the boys called me at McKinney, and he said, do you think we should start making badges again? I said, no. So, now, teaching was a good choice for me. I enjoyed it. Didn't get rich, but I enjoyed it, and I have lots and lots of friends that I made, not just students, but parents, families. I was lucky to teach 3 generations, grandma, mom, and grandson of the Boyd family, which I thought was kind of neat. I have 2 of my former students here tonight, my son, and Liz. Liz said something about she didn't want to sit in the corner and have supper tonight. I said, you wouldn't know how sitting in the corner is, would you? She got a halo in there. Now, Todd and I, we won't get into that, will we?
When you were my teacher?
Yeah.
Yeah, she thought it was great. I didn't like it. It's mom. I mean, it's not your. But then home is not home anymore. You screw up the school, you're in trouble later.
I had some relatives who call me Aunt Cathy at school, and I said, it's Mrs. Armstrong. One is really still mad at me.
Right. See, I teach high school now, and I've dealt with that for years with other teachers that have children, and they call them mom and dad, and I roll my eyes because it didn't work that way when I was around.